In the spirit of reconciliation, Law Squared acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this webcast presented by Law Ninjas and Law Squared. My name is Rohan Bilimoria and I'm the founder of Law Ninjas, which is a global community of lawyers. And today we're going to be talking about something that's quite close to every in-house counsel's heart. In-house legal teams today are under more pressure than ever because of rising demand, tighter budgets, and the constant expectation to do more with less. I mean, how many times have we heard that phrase, do more with less? And in this environment, having a simple, secure, and scalable way to manage matters and contracts isn't just nice to have, it's essential. And that's where today's session comes in. I'd like to introduce our presenter and our speaker for today, Nam Trong, who's the head of product at Cubed by Law Squared. If you're not already aware, Cubed is an out-of-the-box matter and contract management solution built by the team behind Law Squared. Cubed is built directly inside Microsoft 365, and it takes all the powerful capabilities of Microsoft and fine-tunes them for the specific needs of in-house legal teams. So no more piecing together multiple solutions, no more, months of setup or heavy customization. And today, Nam is going to explore with us why you don't necessarily need to look to costly or niche legal tech to solve these challenges. Instead, he'll show how Microsoft 365, a platform already sitting on most of your desktops, can be harnessed to streamline legal operations. So over the next hour or so, Nam will demonstrate how Microsoft tools can firstly simplify legal intake, create visibility of matters, streamline matter management, automate reminders and approvals, and deliver real-time insights. So if you're listening in, please do help us by dropping any comments or any questions you have into our chat bar. And our moderator, Lisa, is going to gather up all your amazing questions and comments, and then the Cube team can respond with FAQs and resources after the webcast. So without further ado, Nam, over to you.
Thanks, Rohan. Hey, everyone. I am super excited to be presenting the session with you today because I think it's going to create a lot of value for you and your teams. My name is Nam, and I've done a lot of work with in-house legal teams in terms of legal technology, legal operations. A lot of that work involves setting up new matter management, contract lifecycle management platforms, building out technology platforms from scratch, and a lot of the time, unfortunately, cleaning up bad or failed technology implementations. And over the years, at Cube, we noticed a common pattern within in-house legal teams, and that was that teams were sort of rushing out and they were spending a lot of money, a lot of time invested into these new matter management, contract lifecycle management, AI platforms, without really sort of having a clear understanding of the problems that they're trying to solve, but also, more importantly in our case, what tools they already have available within their existing legal technology stack that they can then leverage to solve those requirements. So what we've been doing more and more of is encouraging legal teams to look at what they already have, what they're already paying for, and leverage that to solve their legal operational problems. One of the core technologies that we recommend is Microsoft. Microsoft is used by a majority of the world's organizations and actually has a lot of nifty tools, applications, and capabilities that you can leverage in order to meet your legal operation challenges. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to take you through a few different applications, platforms, and tools that you can use within Microsoft. Most of them you already have. Most of them likely you can access for free within your organization, and how these can help you solve challenges with matters, contracts, and automation. Okay. If you're interested, of course, please follow along. It's going to be mostly an interactive demonstration, but potentially something that can get a bit quite technical. Of course, there's going to be a recording of this session shared after this demo. And additionally, if you're interested in these type of solutions, but can see that it is a bit more technical, it's not something that your organization has the capability to address, come and check out Cubed. Of course, Cubed is our matter management and contract management platform that's completely built on Microsoft and is a way to fast track your return on investment in legal technology. Okay. So without further ado, I'm just going to share a slide that I have prepared earlier. And this is a nice little slide that takes you through a few core applications available in Microsoft and what they can do to solve legal operations or legal technology use cases. I'm going to talk about these at a high level, and then I'm going to go and actually step you through what it would look like to create some legal operations matter management platforms inside of your Microsoft environment. So the first we have on the left there is matter and contract intake. Microsoft have an application called MS Forms that allow you to create matter intake or contract intake forms that you can use to share with your stakeholders and get their instructions or get their requirements for the work that you're doing as a team. Okay. There is an application called MS Lists that will allow you to create dynamic tables that you can use to track your list of legal matters or your list of contracts, their expiry dates, upcoming renewal notice, obligations, or even their statuses, right? Document management, Microsoft SharePoint is an enterprise document management system. It is Microsoft's flagship document management platform. It doesn't really get much better than that. And I'll take you through a few sort of unknown or uncommon tips and tricks for SharePoint today. And Microsoft have a automation workflow tool called Power Automate. This is a tool that will allow you to create sort of if this, then that type of logic and deploy that into your Microsoft environment, which allows you to do things like generate automated emails or populate document templates and share that with stakeholders. And I will take you through a little bit of what is possible with that today. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. I will share my screen and take you through a series of sort of demonstrations. And of course, if you're interested in learning more about how you can use Microsoft, what's shared today, and of course our Cube by Law Squared offering, please reach out to the Cube team, and we're happy to continue the conversation there. And the first thing I'm going to do is visit my SharePoint intranet page, right? This is a page that most of you will have in your organizations that you can use to share resources, to share training material or company-wide news. It's also a way for you to access your Microsoft applications. And this is our example of what we have at Law Squared. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a list of matters or contracts that we can use to track the type of work that we're doing. And to do that, we're going to use a platform called MS Lists. So to access MS Lists, what we will do is navigate to the top left to the app launcher. Clicking into that, you will see an application called MS Lists. If you don't see it, you can search for it here, or if you're searching for it and still do not see it, please contact your IT department and see if they can unblock the application for you. So I'll click into that application. And what's happening now is that you are taken to the Microsoft List landing page. Here you can see your recent lists, your favorite lists, and what we're going to do today is create a new list. So I click on Create New, and that will bring me up the module for creating a new list. As you can see, there are different sort of ways that I can create a new list from a blank template. I can import, if you've got an existing list, from Excel, CSV, or even another Microsoft list. Or I can use templates in order to fast track that process. And you can see here, there's a template called Work Tracker, right? So when you think about legal matters, I mean, that's really what they are. Like they're the legal team's work, sort of work that we want to track and manage. So I'll use that to create. This sort of brings me up a summary of what this Work Tracker does and the different sort of preset columns in the template. So I will say, yep, let's use this template. Okay. Let's call this one legal matters. And it will ask you, where do you want to create this list? If I use my list, this is something that is private and only I can access it. It's good if you want to track your own work or your own sort of spreadsheet of contracts. If you want to share and collaborate across your team, what you need to do is then create the list on a SharePoint site. So what we're going to do is we're going to create, I'm just going to do this in our Cubed by Law Squared SharePoint instance. You can choose to show the list in the site navigation. In this instance, I will not do that, but I will hit create. It says it already exists, so maybe I'll do legal matters. We're now in September, aren't we? And hit create. So this has now set up a Microsoft list following the work items template for me. As you can see, there are some automations already available with this that it's prompting me to set up. This automation in question is what's called a due date reminder, and it describes it really clearly here. 3 days before an item is due, this Power Automate flow will send a reminder to the owner of the item. So you can set that up. I'm not going to do that in this case. I will select do this later. And what we can see here is an empty list, right? On the top here, you have your main menu. So these are a list of buttons and actions you will use to interact with your list. You have the list menu and views. So these are the different perspectives or the different filters that you can apply to your data. You can see by default, it has created a view for all items, all matters, matters grouped by priority, matters grouped by work item, progress, and so on. Here are the different columns that exist within our list, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to rename some of these columns in order to make them a bit more legal centric, all right? So instead of work item, I will call this matter name, okay? And what's important when you work through what these different columns are and how you define them is that you keep it really simple. We've worked with a lot of in-house teams where they spend so much time, so much energy and effort trying to consider every single data point that they want to collect. And what happens is that they end up collecting over like 100 data points that no one ends up filling out, and it just becomes a massive admin burden for both the legal team and also the business. So what we recommend is to keep it simple. In fact, with Cubed by Law Squared, we actually curate a set of standard fields and columns that you can get out of the box, and that way you can get up and running straight away without having to do, spend 2 or 3 months in a lengthy design process working out which columns you want. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these columns. We've got the matter name, we have the matter description. Instead of category, I'm going to call this matter type. And if I click on edit, you can see I'm able to change it. And because this is a choice column, I can change the different matter types that are available. So I'm just going to say NDA, MSA, transaction, legal advice, general, and yeah, let's stick with legal research. Okay, so I'll save this. Progress, priority, start date, due date. Let's keep it as the same for the sake of this experiment. So now that we've got some columns that are relevant to what we want to capture with matters, let's create a new item as an example. So clicking on here will allow you to create a new item. So let's say this is a new NDA agreement with Cubed by Law Squared. And you can say we are purchasing a new technology platform. What's the matter type? This is an NDA agreement. What's the progress? It hasn't been started. The priority is medium. I'll assign this to myself and I'll add some notes. They seem like a great team to work with. And what I can also do is add an attachment as well. So I'll hit save, and you can see now that that has created an item in our list, right? And by creating an item in this list, not only can we manage and track it, but we can also open the item, which allows us to update. So if now the progress is in progress, I can update that. And I can also leave comments. So if I leave a comment, I'll leave this comment for Demetrio, and I'll say, "Hi Demetrio, please review this NDA." And he'll get that notification in his email, and then eventually, reply back to say it's been completed. So that's a really simple way to create a list, right? Define some of those columns, and now we've added an item. So this is if the legal team have received an email with this work request, and we have created this manually. So what happens if we want to create a portal that allows business users or our clients to submit the type of work that they want us to do themselves? With MS List, it's really easy. So what we are going to do is we will exit out of this, and at the top here, you can see there is a button called Forms, right? This is a native capability within this platform that allows us to create a Microsoft form and integrate it with this list. So if I create a form here, I can call it legal intake form and say, please provide the details of what you want the legal team to assist with. Right. I can even go as far as to change these. So instead of calling it a matter name, which is what the legal team would understand, call this, what is the subject of your legal request, as an example. I can hide or show columns, so I don't necessarily want them to assign who the lawyer is, nor do I want them to set the start date. What I do want, though, is for them to add an attachment. Okay. This is creating the form automatically. I can change the coloring, of course, and there are different settings. I can even be notified for every new response to the form as well. And what you can see here is that the form has now saved. I can preview the form. I can see what it looks like to my stakeholders. And I can then share this form as a link to other people in my organization. So what I will do is I will copy this link and paste it in here. And what we're going to do after this loads is that we're going to complete this form, and you'll see that someone else completing the form will populate a record into that list itself. So over here, we can say, yep, what is the matter name? Let's call this a new lease agreement. Description, we are leasing our 123 Cube Street. What is the matter type? I'll call this legal advice general. We obviously don't have a matter type for leasing, but you can easily add that and complete some of these requirements. So if I hit submit, this will tell me that, yep, thank you, the response has been submitted. And if I go back into my list and refresh, what you can see is that that new lease agreement has been automatically created. What we're going to do now is I'm going to really quickly switch to edit this in grid view, and that will allow me to add a bunch of new rows so that I can show you how reporting, filtering, and different views work. So I've just created the same thing over and over again for now. Right, but then what I'll also do is just modify this, subtly for different record types. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, so now you can see we're getting a range of diverse data points. That will allow us to demonstrate what are the reporting capabilities of this list. So I'll just assign this to a few different people within our organization. And again, copy that data down. All right. So the first thing I'm going to show you is those default views that we had created earlier. So now if I go and I say, yep, I want to see the matters grouped by priority, I can see those groupings in a very simplified way. If I want to see grouped by item work progress, again, I can see that in a very simplified way. If I just want to see my work items, in that I can see just the ones that are assigned to myself. And of course, I can see things in a bit of a progress board point of view. You can, of course, create new views or add different views using the add view capability, and you can filter or search by different matter types using the filter capability on the left here. Now, what we're also going to do now is, this is a very simple list, and we want to integrate it with some sort of reporting dashboard. So this is a dashboard that you can share across your business stakeholders or even at an ELT executive level. And it's, again, really simple to do that. So what I would do is go and select integrate. I can go to Power BI, and then I can click visualize this list. So what we're going to do is we are going to integrate this with Power BI. And to do that, you can just select the integrate button, go down to Power BI and visualize this list. What this is doing now is that it is connecting all of those data points inside of your matters list into a Power BI dashboard and creating a standard dashboard or a smart dashboard with the data that we have in that list. So very soon the system is going to take an interpretation of the data that we have and present it on a screen like so. And of course, Power BI is so dynamic, so flexible that you can edit, modify, or create different views or different visualizations as you'd like. As you can see here, we have a very simple dashboard of the matters that we have here. And then if I wanted to add further details or add further visualizations, I can do that as well. Going back into my Microsoft list, I'm going to show you just two more features. The first is exporting to Excel. You can do that using the export button and selecting export to Excel. And the other feature is around notifications and rules. So you can see if I select the automate, there are a few different things we can do here. The first is we can select a Power Automate flow that is integrated into this list. We can create different rules and we'll create quick steps and approvals. Those are quite technical, so I suggest you explore that in your own time. But what we're going to do first today is we're going to select create a rule, and that will allow you really simply create some sort of notification rule where when a new item is created, send an email and I can say, send that to the person who is assigned and say, hey, there is a new matter assigned to you. All right. And you can see this has now been turned on. So there you have it. Using Microsoft Lists and using MS Forms, we're able to build such a simple but very powerful matter management table that you can use to track legal work progress, legal matters, or you can create separate spreadsheets or separate tables for matters and contracts and use that for enhanced collaboration within your team. What we're going to move on to now is a bit of a demonstration with Power Automate. Right? Power Automate is again a super dynamic, super flexible application that you probably already have access to within your organization that opens up an infinite world of possibilities in terms of legal technology and legal operations workflow automation. So to get started with Power Automate, what you want to do is go to make.powerautomate.com. Alternatively, in your SharePoint, you can select the application launcher and search Power Automate to bring up the Power Automate application. All right. Now, what you can see here is the landing page for Power Automate. It's got a few different widgets here and there, but what you want to do when you're first playing around with this is go into Create. Okay. So to create a flow, this allows you to create an automation that either runs automatically based on certain triggers, and you'll see what that looks like in a second, or even on a schedule. So every day, 5 a.m., for example. I've clicked into build an automated cloud flow, and what we're going to do here is I'm just going to show you a few core components of Power Automate before I show you a flow that we have created earlier, right? So I'm going to not create a name. In fact, I'll just call this test, and then I will skip this, okay? And this brings up the Power Automate sort of workflow designer, all right? You can use the designer in this view. I like to actually use the old designer look and feel, so I will click that and switch, and I can switch without saving. But what you need to understand about Power Automate is that it works off really only two things. So triggers. So triggers are events that initiate the flow, and then actions. So actions are things that happen in response to a trigger. So previously we had leveraged Microsoft Forms to create that matter intake list. So what I would do is I will set up a trigger to activate the flow when a new form response is submitted. So I can do that, and then that will allow me to pick a form, okay? And I'll just use my NDA form as an example. And then by selecting new step, we can select the actions, right? So there are a host of different actions online here. One example is maybe I'll search by Outlook, and I can see here, send an email. All right. So this is a very simple flow that says when a new Microsoft form is submitted to our NDA agreement form, send an email. And here we can define what the email does. That's at a high level how Power Automate works. Again, it's very complex and sometimes can get a bit technical. What we're going to do here is we're going to share a few resources after this after this presentation, and that will sort of share introductory concepts and workflows and demos to Power Automate specifically. Of course, Cubed by Law Squared comes with a host of Power Automate workflows, such as automatic filing of emails. So again, if this is of interest, please encourage you to check that out. But what we're going to do is we're going to fast forward to a flow that I have prepared earlier, so I can just show you how that flow will work. All right. So this is a flow that relies on an NDA form submission. And when that NDA form is submitted, it will populate our NDA template and then create that file inside of a SharePoint library. And at a high level, you can see this is the form. So when a new NDA form is submitted, get the details of the form, use those details to populate the NDA template, create that template inside of SharePoint, update SharePoint with other necessary metadata, and then send an email to say your new NDA has been submitted for legal review, and you will get a final version in PDF once this has been approved. All right, so again, this is a very simple form. Of course, we have built more complex forms for customers before, and of course, all of these triggers and flows you probably already have access to. So what I'll do is I'll use test, which allows me to test this workflow. Okay, and here we will now activate the trigger, and we can see if the workflow will run or not. What I've prepared earlier here is our NDA agreement form. So if I go into here and I select Start Now, this is where I can enter the details of the form. In today's case, I will enter Rohan. This agreement will commence next week. We're entering into this agreement with Law Ninjas. Their business address is 123 Test Street. Some details here. And I've just put in my email address for the sake of this demonstration. And what don't we want to disclose? Everything. And hit submit. So what this is doing now, this is simulating if an NDA submission form was submitted by someone from the business, and what we will be able to see is how this form progresses our automation workflow. I can see that an email has automatically been sent to myself. An email has just automatically been sent to say, yep, your NDA with Law Ninjas has been submitted to the legal team for review, and you will receive a PDF version of the final document once that document has been sent. So if I refresh this now, hopefully we can see that the flow has been run. And what we might do is have a look at that in the SharePoint. So you can see here that the flow has ran successfully, and what it's done is that following the submission of the NDA agreement form, it has created this mutual NDA between Law Squared and Law Ninjas, and has then sent me an email to confirm that it's been created. And if I go and open the form or open the document, I'll be able to see that the details that I had put into the form submission was then used to populate the document. So that is a very high-level example of what is possible with Power Automate. What we went through was how to open Power Automate, how to create a flow, the difference between triggers and actions, and also shared with you an example of how a Power Automate flow can be used to connect a Microsoft form and enable it to populate a Word template or a document template, and then send an email after that template has been populated. What we're going to do now is we're going to take you through SharePoint. So as you can see, I've got SharePoint open here. Some of you may be familiar with SharePoint, some of you may not be, but SharePoint is Microsoft's flagship document management system, and it's a way for you to store documents, files, and emails on an online server that's hosted within inside of your Microsoft environment. What you see inside of SharePoint here is what is called a folder or a document library. And think of this as the filing cabinet for all of the files and files, documents, and emails that you would use to facilitate your legal work. Okay. Most of you probably already know that you can open files, copy files, and move files across SharePoint locations, but probably what is less known is the ability to add different columns into the SharePoint list itself. So you can see here by default, SharePoint will come with a modified by, and created column. But what I've added here are different sort of columns that relate to the document itself. So here we've got approval status, here we've got requester, and adding these columns is really easy. We just select this plus button and we can create a column here. What we might do here is we might create a quick column to say, does this document contain personally identifiable information? And it is a yes or no type column. So now that column is added into our SharePoint view, and we can then click edit in grid view to then go and update the files that then contain PII. Okay. So you can see that those files have been updated now, and what we can do is we can also then use this to filter or group these files. So I'm now sorting these files by yes first, then no, or I can even use this to filter by where the files itself are marked as yes. The other thing about SharePoint Online is that all of your files are stored within the cloud. Okay, so if I go and I open this file and make some changes, I'm able to make changes and collaborate to this document. So I might just highlight everything here, and I might add my my colleague Demetrio into this document. Okay, and that allows me to share this document with him and notify the document. All right. And if I was to close this, and what's important is that you wait till the changes are saved on the top left here. But if I were to close this, what you will see is now the document has been modified. So what you can see is that since we've made those changes into the document, if I go and I reopen the document, those changes will now be still reflected live inside of the document. Not only that, I have full access to version control, and I can review the history of the document as well by going up here and selecting version history. See here, I can see the different version history of the document. All right, so that takes us to our session for today. What you can see here is we have demonstrated a few different features that are currently available for you to access inside of your Microsoft 365 environment. Most of these features are free, and what this allows you to do is create legal operations or legal technology workflows that you can use to track matters, track contracts, or even use to build a business case before you go out and procure a matter management or contracts management platform like Cube by Law Squared or some of the other platforms available in the market there today. Okay, we took you through the creation of a list using the MS List platform, integrated that with MS Forms for matter intake, and then Power BI for matter reporting. And then we took you through a Power Automate workflow that allows you to create a NDA document and share that with stakeholders after a NDA form has been filled and completed. And then lastly, super high level demonstration of SharePoint and its capabilities here, and more so the lesser known capabilities such as adding new views and columns into a SharePoint list, but also creating a live document and viewing different version histories and sharing that in a collaborative fashion with those in your business. So thanks again for joining us today. As I've mentioned earlier, if you're interested in Microsoft, please reach out to the Cube by Law Squared team. Of course, we're always more than happy to geek out and have conversations around Microsoft and what you can do in Microsoft. And of course, if you're interested, check out Cube by Law Squared as a platform. So without further ado, I'll wrap this up for today and hand it back over to Rohan.
Thanks so much, Nam. So many great tips from you for anyone who's eager to take the next step with their legal ops journey. And from my perspective, I'm not a tech savvy guy or an expert by any stretch of the imagination. But what I've seen you present today is that while Microsoft 365 is powerful, it's not tailored to the specific needs of in-house legal teams straight out of the box. You can configure it, but that often means time, customization, and technical expertise, which, a lot of us lawyers don't have. So, here's the real question, why stop at what's possible when you can have something purpose built for legal teams with Cubed? So yeah, as Nam said, if you're curious to know more, if you want to see a demo, then just reach out to the Law Squared team, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to take you through what Cubed can do. But thank you so much, Nam. Thank you so much to the Cubed and Law Squared teams, and thank you so much to all the ninjas out there who've listened in. If you have any questions and if you've put questions in the chat, we will gather them all up, and the Cube team will respond with FAQs and resources after this session. Thanks so much.